Hall of Famer Morales, in which he did a interview and is causing conversation. But Eric Morales, he was spot on what he said. He was spot on what he said, basically, in the interview where he was just saying, hey, that these Americans were kicking their asses. He didn't per se black, but I mean, it's obvious who he was referring to. And the guy that was doing the interview with him, you could tell he was visibly upset. Just like what's the dude's name who worked with ESPN? Bernardo, I can't remember what his last name was. When he was, doing a Spanish interview and they were discussing boxing and they were just having a conversation where he tried to say he thought Canelo was number one pound for pound or somebody else. The other two guys said it was Terrence Crawford, and he seemed to be upset about that. Now, there's going to be people that's going to be mad. They're going to make videos, and they're going to be black that's going to try to counteract this just because they want to, they want to pander to a certain audience. And I stand by what I've said, and I stand by what I've been saying. The black boxer is dominant. And not, throwing any shame at any fighter that isn't black, because they've had some great non-black boxers, historically. This was saying, for the most part, the most dominant boxer have to be, in all likelihood, going to be black, African American, what you want to call it, black looking. So, I mean, the history speaks for itself. And if you look at head-to-head collisions between black versus Mexicans, black fighters are in the lead. And it's not any shots at. Listen, you just have to understand something. You have to confess. It is what it is. When it pertains to certain athletes, everybody has admitted that the black athlete is the most dominant athlete on the planet. Whether you like it or not, you can get mad, you can start talking shit. It's fact. We were the first ones here on this planet. Now, if some people are upset about what Eric Morales said, then that's a you problem. And I commend Eric Morales for telling the truth. This is not going to sit well with a lot of people, and particularly, his own. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Mexicans that's upset with him about saying that. And he probably thought, well, maybe this wasn't going to go viral or whatever, or people wasn't going to find out about it because it's in Spanish. Come on, man. This is the internet. So, this is the internet. Doesn't matter what language you do an interview in or where you do the interview in. It's easy for something to go viral. I mean, come on. But like I said before, I talked about this in previous videos where basically, like I said, they tried to minimize the natural born ability of black fighters. Just like over the last primarily 20 years, where basically they had to try to elevate primarily these non black fighters, and particularly the Eastern European fighters. So that's why you saw them trying to blow up the Lomachenkos and the Triple G and Sergey Kovalev, which they were good fighters. Sergey Kovalev was a good fighter. He was a very good fighter, except when he fought Andre Ward. And he fought an elite fighter, Andre Ward, and lost not once but twice. And the second time he fought him, he was stopped. I don't know why this is so hard for people to comprehend. I don't know why people get so mad, but it's just sort of like what women do. A lot of these dudes on here have a woman mentality. They don't want to take accountability, and when you hit them with the truth, they get mad. They will try to make you feel bad about it. what I found funny about it was that dude, I don't know who he was. He was some MMA dude where he basically said that he think that Canelo needs to train with a black fighter and then fight Terrence Crawford. So basically he needs to pull a Rocky 3. I think at Canelo's age of 34, 35, I don't think Canelo can do that. I mean, you can't teach it. Canelo is getting long in the tooth. Even though Terrence Crawford is older, Canelo is getting long in the tooth. Just like Bud is getting long in the tooth age-wise. Now, it still doesn't give Canelo a buy-in excuse or a buy-in excuse from his fans. He still got whooped by Terrence Crawford, and that's just the bottom line. I just don't think there's anything Canelo could do in a rematch. I don't think there's any type of training he could do. Now he might could, try to put something in the system. He might try to eat some more mystery meat, get a double dose of mystery meat, but that's about it. That's basically it. That's probably the only thing that could help him and or might be able to help him. But they're going to be on top of that. Terrence Crawford's team is going to be on top of that. So what is there for him to do? I just don't think at this point Canelo could do something like that. And then I think he's loyal to Eddie Reynoso. I think he's loyal to Eddie Reynoso. So I just don't see Canelo, going Sylvester Stallone from Rocky from Rocky 3. Boy, I got some Rocky videos coming up too that I'm gonna talk about. I think y'all gonna enjoy it. Well, some people ain't gonna enjoy them, but but I get what Eric Morales was saying, and I thank him for it. I think to a certain degree it was a backhand compliment, but he didn't per se say black fighters, but we knew who he was talking about. I mean, it does take a rocket science to understand and know who he was talking about. Who else was he talking about? So when he was saying in America, and you look at Eric Morales, and that's why some people kind of got on Manny Pacquiao, because when Manny Pacquiao fought Eric Morales in the rematch after Eric Morales beat Manny Pacquiao, I think he beat Manny Pacquiao decisively in that first fight. I think he beat him I had Eric Morales winning he beat him decisively. I had Eric Morales winning maybe 8-4 versus Manny Pacquiao. And then Eric Morales, he ended up losing to Zahir Rahim, and Manny Pacquiao, for some reason, elected not to fight Zahir Rahim. He wanted the Eric Morales rematch, and a lot of people don't talk about that. And it doesn't matter who Zahir Rahim went on to lose to. The fact was he was coming off a big win versus Eric Morales, and Manny Pacquiao chose not to fight. So you got to be truthful. You got to be truthful about that. You just look at the history of fights. You look at Oscar De La Hoya. You look at Oscar De La Hoya's biggest wins. You look at his biggest losses. They were via black fighters. He was stopped by Bernard Hopkins. He was outpointed by Sugar Shane Mosley and not one but 2 fights. Now, some people will say, "Oh, well, Oscar got robbed in that set." In that set, no, he didn't. If you really watch that second fight, you watch closely. Sugar Shane Mosley outboxed Oscar in both of those fights. It was the extremely biased broadcasting from HBO that made you think that fight was a robbery, and it wasn't. Because I watched that fight like 3 times maybe. I thought that Shane won the first time that I saw it. And then you know what made it so funny? If you have Tubi, Top Rank has their own channel on Tubi, and they show a lot of throwback fights, and they have some other broadcasters calling the fight. And when it was all said and done, they had Sugar Shane Mosley winning the fight. So, that was just something that they created. Just something that they created. And then Oscar, he lost to Floyd Mayweather. So you look at some of his big, and then you can make an argument. And then you can make an argument. And then you can make an argument that Oscar De La Hoya lost to Pernell Whitaker. I thought that Oscar lost that. So, it is what it is. Even though Oscar's had some big wins, but he's had some big losses. So I think that's what Erik Morales was referring to. Now, as far as the Eastern European fighters go, that's probably one of the reasons why I think that Lomachenko retired, because he felt like he didn't have enough, left in the tank to fight Tank. I do think that Tank would have knocked Lomachenko out. I think maybe if they had fought probably maybe 4 years prior, I think Lomachenko would have had a better chance to win. But it is what it is. You just got to keep it 100. So like I said, getting back to Erik Morales, I could go down a long history of fights, but I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to spend a whole bunch of time talk about this. I'm just saying, you look at, like I said, you look at Andre Ward, you look at Floyd Mayweather. Why you think Floyd Mayweather kept picking those Mexicans to fight? He knew he would have had a harder time with the black fighters than he would have with the Mexican fighters. That's why Floyd was picking primarily, when he became when he became Floyd Money Mayweather. This is facts. Man, you just got to keep it 100. Now, some people, like I said, they're gonna be mad at Erik Morales. They're gonna say, "Oh, stop making boxing about race." It's funny when people that ain't black make boxing about race. Then all of a sudden it's food for thought. But then when we do it and we're saying something that's complimentary to us, then all of a sudden, then they don't want to talk about race. All of a sudden it's uncomfortable. But you don't have no problem talking about black fatigue and all that type of shit when it pertains to race. If it's something attacking black people, then all of a sudden you want to have that conversation. When it's something enlightening or something positive or something factual about black people, then all of a sudden, I don't feel comfortable. Hey, can we not make this about race? Can't have both ways. But anyway, I just wanted to give my take on this. I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time talking about this. It is what it is. I stand on it. Once again, shout out to Erik Morales and his confession. And shout out to our historically, better than great black fighters. Real talk. It's your boy Tam. I'm out.